welcome to the Cookland channel. I'm David and you're in my kitchen. If it's your first time here, welcome, and if you've been here before with me, definitely welcome back. Today we're cooking in Brooklyn. It's quiet time. It's after dinner in the house, and this is a rare occasion. I actually know what I want to make for dinner tomorrow. So tonight, I'm gonna be prepping for tomorrow's dinner, spare ribs. And this is gonna be a weekday cheat spare rib, because I'm gonna use the grill, but I'm also gonna cheat a little bit because I'm gonna show you how you can take care of your ribs without boiling them, because don't boil your ribs. No. Don't boil the ribs, please. I'm going to show you a little cheat on how to do these spare ribs, and we're going to get cooking. All right, so here we go. We got our ribs out. Have the pack unfurled. So first thing we're going to do a little bit of manicuring. You might want to just give your, and this is just for aesthetics. This is really just for the look. There's nothing wrong with just cooking it as is. I did give it a little bit of a rinse because you know I like to wash my meat before I prepare it. Just a little sanitary. So I'm just gonna cut off this flap that's back here. It's perfectly good. Again, there's really nothing more to it than just an aesthetic, and you have yourself a clean surface right here to work with. There's a little bit of fat on the back of the rib here. You can just, clean up and trim that up. Some of this is actually helpful because it renders. Something is dripping over there. Can you hear it? I gotta take care of that. I'm back. I have some tiny quirky OCD things. It was something dripping in the sink, and like I said, it's after hours, it's after dinner, and everybody running around, everybody's in their little compartment, either getting ready to sleep, or just being very quiet. So little things make loud noises at this time. So I had to take care of that. Anyway, so I was saying, you just trim up your meat, and then I'm gonna look for this little piece of membrane on the back. Now, you see there's a membrane that runs along the back of the rib, and something that you don't need to remove, but most people do. I mean, definitely, if you were in some kind of a rib competition or something like that, you want to remove the membrane from back here because it'll be disqualified or something. So what you kind of do is get your knife underneath it and try to carve out a nice starting point, and then get yourself like a piece of paper towel or maybe a clean kitchen towel, something like that, and this helps you to grip it, and then you just grab it and peel it right off. Okay, we got our ribs all trimmed up, nice and neat. Trimmed off a couple pieces just to square it off, and it'll fit in this pan that I'm gonna use. So these other little pieces here, they're also gonna get cooked along with everything else, but they'll be just off of the bone, right? So a little bit of mustard. I'm gonna use this as the base to our rib seasoning. Oops, making poopy sounds. A little mustard. Use your hand or use a spatula, and you just want to coat this thoroughly all over. Try this mustard as a nice base for your seasoning. And put some on these little guys over here. These little spare ribs. Dad humor. Shout out to my friends at Dickey's Barbecue Pit on Flatbush Avenue, Fun City, Brooklyn, where I got this nice barbecue rib rub. I used this rib rub on my chicken last week, and it was so fantastic I thought I'd use it again, actually for some ribs. So this has pretty much everything I need for this step. So I'm gonna give this a generous coating of rib rub, and that mustard base is gonna just allow this to stick all over it. Right? So our little test pieces are coated, our ribs are coated, and one more thing. So here's the one more thing. Some black pepper. This is some coarsely ground, freshly cracked black pepper. I think I just want a nice peppery standout flavor on these ribs. So I'm gonna give this an extra little coating of black pepper. And that's it. This rib prep is done. I'm gonna cover this with foil, and I'm gonna stick it in the fridge, and tomorrow we're gonna pick up this cook. What's up, what's up? Welcome back. It's the next day. My ribs are working for me already. So what I did, I said I was gonna give you a little cheat code. So what I did was prepare the ribs, as you saw, overnight. It's called like it's pre-seasoned, like a dry brine. Covered that up. It was in the fridge overnight. And then I use an old trick from game shows. I phoned a friend. So somebody's home, and you use your kids, use them up. That's what they're there for. One of my kids was home earlier in the afternoon. Call them up, text them up. Look, turn that oven on, get it to 300, and get those ribs in there. So all I did was have my son add about 2 cups of chicken stock to the tray that the ribs are in, the baking pan. Add about 2 cups of chicken stock to that, and cover it back up and stick it in a 300-degree oven. And that way it was going for at least an hour, maybe 2 hours before I got home. The ribs are going to be braising in that nice liquid, getting a little bit of steam and heat, and it's going to be almost all the way cooked by the time I get home. And by the time I get everything else going, I don't have to worry about slaving over these ribs. I'm going to finish those ribs off on the grill just to get some char and some smoke into them and make them, pump that flavor up a little bit more than just having some barbecue ribs from the oven. So that's what's going on now. I got some companions to go with this, some sweet potatoes, and I've got some pre-cut collard greens, and that's going to be our sides. So we're going to get cooking. Well, we got these potatoes, and we're just going to cut them up into more manageable pieces. Sweet potatoes are hard. You can just make some decent little wedges, little slices. Okay, we're gonna season this water. Got here about 2.5 tablespoons of salt. I use kosher salt. About 2 tablespoons of granulated garlic, and about 1 good tablespoon, a heaping tablespoon of black pepper. Now, this is like one of the only times where you can use, for me, is you can use not freshly cracked. You can use a tin pepper because it's going into this type of situation where it's going to be boiling, and you don't really need it to be that freshly cracked pepper. I like to use that on a different type of seasoning. So about a half a stick of butter, and this is gonna be a nice pour of vinegar. This is some cider vinegar, and it's about maybe a couple tablespoons of cider vinegar. And this is gonna be a meatless collard green. So because I don't have any meat like a smoked ham hock or a smoked turkey leg or something like that, I'm gonna use some liquid smoke just to add that little smokiness to the mix. And I put in a few dashes of liquid smoke, not to overpower it, just to give it a hint of that smokiness that you might get from the meat, since this is a meatless preparation. So I got this boiling. I'm gonna let that boil for about 5 minutes, let the butter melt and let everything combine. And then I'm gonna get to putting our collard greens in this in the pot. Okay, had to step away for a second to deal with that collard water. You guys are up next. And right now, steak. We're gonna deal with these sweet potatoes. So they're all cut up in these nice half moons, half circles. So I'm gonna douse them with a good portion of olive oil. Toss that a little bit. Okay. Going in with some salt, healthy pinch of salt. We got a lot of potatoes here. So you know what I like to do? Get some on there, and I'm just gonna toss. And get another pinch on there. Kind of ensure that everybody gets a little bit of coating, everybody gets a little happy. This is some freshly cracked black pepper. Now I'm going to use the freshly cracked because I like this. It's going to sit on top of these potatoes in the oven. And it's going to give you that dynamite burst of flavor because it's going to be in there roasting. So I use the tin pepper for the boiling because that's it's kind of throwaway, right? Freshly cracked, you're going to get it undiluted right on top of the potatoes. So a nice portion of that, and I'm going to just toss in some brown sugar. And proportion-wise, I mean, you just use pinches. You go according to how many potatoes you have, you know, and you can always add seasoning. You can add a little bit of salt or pepper at the end. You know, if you taste something and it's a little bit, you know, too bland, that's what salt and pepper shakers are for on the table. You know, you can always supplement your seasoning. So I'm going to give these a nice toss to make sure that everybody gets coated nicely. And then these are going to go in a sheet pan and straight into the oven. Okay, this water has been boiling away for about 5 minutes or so while I was dealing with the potatoes. Everything is mixed up and bubbling away. I'm just going to start adding my collard greens a handful at a time. And trust me, I'm doing 2 portions or 2 bags of these greens. But you know, these leafy greens, they break down. So it looks like a lot. It looks like it's not going to fit. It looks like it's not going to work. But trust me when I tell you, you get more in here than you think. I'm going to leave out some of these dregs in here, just some stalks. You don't want. And come to second bag. I mean, you can be very diligent with this and wait for them to start wilting down, but I like to be a little bit more aggressive with it because I want to get this step over with. Everybody getting in there. Check my bag for some nice pieces. I'm going to leave all the little stems that are at the bottom here because it's unnecessary. So it's all in, and you can just press it down until it's all covered up. And this is a set it and forget it type deal. You don't have to touch this until it's time to eat. At this point, just get everything covered. Find your lid, pop your lid on, and then you want it just to simmer nicely, so you don't want it to be at an aggressive boil. So get your flame down to about medium high for a while. Once it returns to a boil, you want it to simmer, so just get your flame down to about a medium at that point. And it's gonna just bubble away, and then this will be ready when it's time to eat. All right, so that part is done. That part is done. Back up a little bit, back up off me, son. Hopefully I'm getting this shot. Freestyling. All right. My ribs have been in the oven for a couple of hours, braising away. Turn this a little bit. See if I get that money shot. Okay. Let me get you in here a little bit. Okay. Zoom in, zoom. And then focus. Yeah, so here are the ribs that have been braising away. My braising liquid is all gone. It wasn't covered very tightly. It's okay. And essentially, if I stuck a thermometer in these ribs, it would say that these are done. Once you see these bones start to pull away and reveal themselves, this is kind of your thermometer for ribs. You see those bones start to expose, it comes with doneness, right? Remember those little pieces, the little test pieces that we had on the side? They're so tender, they're all falling apart and breaking up. So all I'm gonna do is get my charcoal grill started, and then I'm gonna just throw the ribs on there at in about a half an hour. When the potatoes are almost done, and when the collards are surely done, I'm just gonna throw those ribs on there for some smoke and some color. So that'll be it, and I'll be back. Now that we're playing the waiting game, waiting for the collard greens to simmer down, we're waiting for the potatoes to roast up. Gonna make a little bit of sauce for our ribs, right? I have one of the best barbecue sauces in the universe, Sweet Baby Ray's. Now, truth be told, you don't really need to do nothing to Sweet Baby Ray's, but I'm just that type of guy. I like to fool around with the sauces a little bit. So the most of it is gonna be, the heavy lifting is gonna be done by Sweet Baby Ray's. And this is hickory and brown sugar. So I'm just gonna get like about, a few squeezes. And this is maybe about a cup and a half. Really not good with measurements. Tell me, I promise you. I'll start, I swear. This is a quarter cup. And get some cider vinegar. Just to loosen this sauce up a little bit. About a quarter cup. It was a little tiny bit less, but about a quarter cup. Bam. All right, a pinch of freshly cracked pepper. Pinch of salt. There's already a ton of salt and seasoning and stuff like that, so you don't really gotta go overboard. This is 2 cloves of chopped garlic. And just to reinforce the garlic flavor, just a few shakes of granulated garlic. All right, that ought to do. I was about to do the whole up. You know I'm the master. Hold up, one more thing. Let me take this for a spin and see how I like it. I know the hickory and brown sugar has that smoky body to it. It has that sweetness to it and the tanginess of the Sweet Baby Ray original recipe, along with the vinegar. It's gonna be a nice sweet and sour affair. Let me see how that works. How do you think that tastes on some rib? That's good. A nice tang, nice sweetness, a little bit of a note from the black pepper. I'm gonna put a little bit more. A little more black pepper. I think I want a little bit more heat in this. So I'm gonna put a couple dashes of hot pepper sauce. 1, 2, 3. 3 dashes of hot pepper sauce. Right? Give it a whirl. Old spoon, new spoon. Don't double dip, you nasty. All right. Okay, that does it. I get the heat from the pepper sauce kind of at the back. It's not very forward. It gives a nice slow burn. So it's not like you're eating like hot wings or something like atomic or something like that. We're gonna have a nice little burn, black pepper and a little bit of pepper sauce just to accentuate a little bit of flavor. Not over the top hot, because it's not like I'm making something with the intention of it being super, super duper hot. So this is ready. I'm gonna head outside and get the charcoal grill started, and we will reconvene at a later date. So we only have 1 slab of ribs, and we're just really gonna get a little bit of smoke and a little bit of char on them. So we don't need a lot of charcoal today. It's about 1/4 chimney. So you know, don't mess around with the old kerosene and the old lighter fluid. Just a little bit of newspaper, chimney, and some fire. Let that catch. This is set it and forget it. We're good to go in about 10 minutes. We're in the middle of the cook. We got some stuff going on. We've got collard greens collarding over there. They boiling up over there. We got sweet potatoes roasting away in the oven. Let me check on these. So they're starting to look good. Brown up around the edges. Soften a little bit. These are gonna take about maybe 30, 40 minutes, right? So you wanna check on them every now and then, maybe twice during the cook, right? Anything that's stuck to the bottom, you know, kind of stir it up and get it to the top, and so everybody gets an even share of some heat from the bottom of the pan and heat from inside the oven circulating. So that's looking good. It's on its way. And I see the familiar glow of charcoal outside. I'm just peeking outside, and that's coming along very nicely. So I'm just in a holding pattern right now. My sauce is ready, and I'm just chilling, waiting for stuff to come together, and then it'll be time to eat. Charcoal is lit. It's all glowy. So all we gotta do, pour out our chimney. Make sure we got all the charcoal. And just spread it out. We got 1 small rack of ribs that we're serving, so we don't need a gang of charcoal to get this little grill marks and this little char on this little rack of ribs. So we only use a small amount of charcoal for this mission. So all I do now is just let these grates heat up, give them a brush, you know, clean them up a little bit. I did brush them the last time I used them. This is just some of the ash from the newspaper. Get that down in the grill. Clean up a little bit. So I'm gonna let this panel here heat up and give it a good brush just to make sure we don't have any debris on there. And then I'm just gonna bring my ribs out and grill them up a little bit. Yeah. See, side A is done. We got a little smokiness going on. These ribs are so tender. They're about to fall apart on me. So I'm gonna try to be very careful. Get all the way underneath here for this flip. Okay. As you can see, we got a little char on there. See that smoke? We got a little smoke treatment. Now it's gonna hit it. Let's hit it with the sauce. We'll give it a nice, dump some sauce on it. Let's make it easy. Give it a nice, generous brush while the back side of the ribs where we have removed the membrane from yesterday is going to get its fair share of smoke, so we're going to have these surrounded by delicious flavor. So what I'm going to do right now, I want this glaze to heat up. So I'm going to close up shop. Allow that rib glaze. Let me zoom in there a little bit for you. Right? So allow that rib glaze to just heat up a little bit. Let that absorb some more smoky flavor. So in about 5 minutes, these ribs are gonna be done. And then, and only then, will we be able to partake in this feast. Yeah, these ribs are done. Let's get it. My tongs all the way up under there. Oh boy, they're falling apart. Hold on, I gotta adjust my grip. These are falling apart off the bone, tender from that braising. Now check this out. Let me look at it with you. There you go. These are falling apart tender right off the bone, and these are ready to go. I'm about to go check inside to see what's the status of everything else. What's the status? Because we're ready to eat these ribs.